I really I was fascinated by your journey into coaching because it is a little bit more unique than a traditional coach that might have played in college or professional and then made that transition into coaching. But you kind of just took the plunge right away and started off as a student manager and obviously worked your way up to where you're at now. For players that are in a similar position, maybe in high school that they want to go to a big college, but maybe they're not skilled enough to play for that play in college, or it's just not going to work out on the basketball side, but they want to be involved as a student manager. How did you come about getting that position? Who did you talk to? I know you mentioned you had a mentor that was working camps, but if I were a player in a similar position as you were, well, how would I go about doing that?
Yeah, that's a great question because sometimes people, it's the first part of the question I'll answer is it did took a sense of pride and everything to say that I love this sport a lot. I want to transition into coaching. You play sports your whole life growing up, and then to sort of then just at that point, you're still very physically active and stuff like that to say, all right, I'm done with the playing type of thing. Let me flip over to the other side. So it's really being able to look yourself in the mirror too, and know what you sort of want out of the bigger picture. Um, I was very blessed to work with a lot of people. I can't really give it a lot of credit to so much myself that I was lucky to work with someone by the name of Darren Friedman at that camp at Camp Winnetou. He runs Basketball Stars of America. I was very fortunate to meet a coach by the name of Dave Brown, who he played in Israel professionally. He's now the head coach at Dwight in New York City. So those guys and having all those connections really then allowed me to go into Providence College's office, introduce myself, and honestly, I went in there the very first day. Classes didn't even start, and I walked right into the office. I introduced myself to Coach Kevin Kerbeck, who's now at Providence still, and I met him and Bob Walsh, and I sort of just expressed how sports means so much to me. That was also the very first summer or two after I started working at that sleepaway camp, so I did start getting that coaching knack. And the first few people I met, I go right into some of the preseason practices they were doing, and the first three people I met were Ryan Gomes, Herbert Hill, and Rick Pitino Jr. So you just walk in and it's wow, this is the level of basketball that you see on TV and everything. And I think the other part of it too, and a lot of coaches say this and everything, is I fell in love with the process, and not really the process of every single day you have to work hard and do those things, but the behind the scenes process. Coach Philip Seymour, who was at Providence at that time too, we used to carry all the Gatorades and Powerades up to the closet, and he would say, like, you guys are the guys that make these things go. So being part of that behind the scenes and seeing what really goes into everything besides just the ball going to the hoop, I guess it just would always kept me being more curious. And then the last name the last two names was Coach Welsh gave me an opportunity to work there with them. And then also Coach Steve DeMeo, who's now at St. John's, was one of my mentors who sort of took me in and allowed me to sort of express the things I saw on the court. So I think also for kids trying to get in is don't be afraid to send an email. My dad used to always say the squeaky wheel gets the oil. So send it. Just because a coach doesn't email you back doesn't mean it's personal or anything. Things get busy. We get tons of emails all the time. So send the email. If you go to the school, another piece of advice I would give is walk in and introduce yourself. I walked right in, and like you said, I threw myself right in the fire. I walked in, I said hello, I introduced myself, and within 3 days I was at practice. And the other thing too is be honest with yourself and be honest with the people you're around. The reason why I say be honest with yourself is because there's a lot of times, Saturday nights and other things, that you're just as much a part of that team as the players are. And you have to sacrifice some things in college. So the reason why I say be honest with yourself is know what you're going to give up and always chase the bigger picture. So that'd be a few tidbits I'd give for people who are interested in trying to go the student manager route. And you learn a lot. You learn a lot. And if you're willing to work, the coaches will give you opportunity.
Yeah, that's it's pretty encouraging, and I can relate. The process and the appreciation you have for the game as a coach is different than as a player, because I think and I'm not sure if you feel the same way, but I tend when I was coaching, I got more excited for the players when something well happened as opposed to myself, because you kind of see that whole process from a different eye, and it just gives you appreciation to see the success of someone else and of a unit as a team, and you kind of see things come together. So I think that your story is pretty cool, and I think there are a lot of similar student athletes that probably are pretty high level high school players, but might want to go to a bigger college that they just can't play for. And I think the route you took was a really cool one, I think, and it set the table for your success. Where you're at now. So I definitely think that's a story.
And to piggyback on that a little bit too now is because of social media, because of digital platforms and things like that, the manager position has actually become even more sought after. Someone like Jay Billis always gives a lot of credit to the student managers, which is fantastic. But now, like, you actually have student manager teams. So when we would go on the road, you'd get to know the other student managers, just so that way, hey, I might use this contact. Like someone, Ben Asher, who was at West Virginia, I got to know through being a student manager, and then now he's one of the top 30 coaches under 30. So that's the way I was looking at my relationships. But now guys even go and play. The teams play, the manager teams play each other the night before the games. It's cool. So and I even think they have an NCAA tournament for the managers now. So it has grown a lot, which is, it's great to see. And, people always giving credit back. In the national championship 2 years ago, the head coach was the first, support staff, student manager, whatever, to go all the way to the national championship. So it is a good path, and everyone's path has a unique twist. So I appreciate you shining light on mine.
Yeah, for sure.